Hey guys, I can't believe it. We are in the last chapter of Tales of Fourth Grade Nothing. And this is probably the craziest chapter of all of them, if you can believe it. And I think Brody knows what happens at the end. He told me he knows the ending. So Brody, don't tell anybody, because this is a crazy chapter. We'll never forget Friday, May 10th. It's the most important day of my life. It didn't start out that way. It started out ordinary. I went to school, I ate my lunch, I had gym, and then I walked home from school with Jimmy Fargo. We planned to meet at our special rock in the park as soon as we changed our clothes. In the elevator, I told Henry I was glad summer was coming, and Henry said he was too. When I got out at my floor, I walked down the hall and opened the door to my apartment. I put my books on the hallway table next to my mother's purse, and I went straight to my room to change my clothes and check on Dribble. The first thing I noticed was my chain latch. It was unlocked. My bedroom door was wide open, and there was a chair smack in the middle of my doorway. I nearly tumbled over it, and I ran to my dresser to check on Dribble. He wasn't there. His bowl and the rocks and the water was there, but Dribble was gone. I got really scared. I thought maybe he died while I was at school and I didn't know about it. So I rushed into the kitchen and hollered, "Mom, where's Dribble?" My mother was baking something and my brother sat on the kitchen floor banging pots and pans together. "Be quiet," I yelled at Fudge. "I can't hear anything over that noise." "What did you say, Peter?" my mother asked. "I said I can't find Dribble. Do you know where he is?" "You mean he's not in his bowl?" my mother asked. I shook my head. "Oh dear," my mother said. "I hope he's not crawling around here somewhere." "You know I don't like the way he smells. I'm going to have to look in the bedroom. You check in here, Peter." My mother hurried off, and I looked at my brother. He was smiling. "Fudge, do you know where Dribble is?" I asked calmly. Fudge kept smiling. "Did you take him? Fudge, did you?" I asked calmly. Being very calm, to be so scared. Fudge giggled and covered his mouth with his hands. I yelled, "Where is he? What did you do with my turtle?" No answers from Fudge. He banged his pots and pans together again and I yanked the pots out of his hands and tried to speak softly. "Now tell me where Dribble is. Just tell me where my turtle is. I won't be mad at you if you tell. Come on, Fudge, please." Fudge looked at me. "In my tummy?" he said. "What do you mean, in your tummy?" I asked, narrowing my eyes. "Dribble in tummy," he repeated. "What tummy?" I shouted at my brother. "This one," Fudge said, rubbing his stomach. "Dribble is in dis tummy. Right here." I decided to go along with his game. "Okay, how did he get in there, Fudge?" I asked. Fudge stood up and he jumped up and down and sang, "I ate him, I ate him, ate him, ate him, ate him." Then he ran out the door. My mother came back into the kitchen. "Well, I just can't find him anywhere," she said. "I looked in all the dressers and the drawers, in the bathroom, and the cabinets, and the shower, and the tub, and—" "Mom," I said, shaking my head, "how could you?" "How could I what, Peter?" my mom asked. "How could you let him do it?" "Let him do what, Peter?" my mom asked. "Let Fudge eat Dribble," I screamed. My mother started to mix whatever she was baking together. "Don't be silly, Peter. Dribble is a turtle." "He ate Dribble," I insisted. "Peter Warren Hatcher, you stop saying that," Mom hollered. "Go ask him. You go ahead and ask him," I told her. Fudge was standing in the kitchen doorway with a big grin on his face. My mother picked him up and patted his head. "Fudgy," she said to him, "tell Mommy where Brother's turtle is." "In my tummy," Fudge said. "What tummy?" Mom asked. "Mine," Fudge laughed. My mother put Fudge down on the kitchen counter, and he couldn't get away from her. "Oh, you're being silly, right?" "No silly," Fudge said. My mother turned very pale. "You really ate your brother's turtle?" Big smile on Fudge's face. "You mean you put him in your mouth and chewed him up like this?" Mom made make-believe chewing sounds. "No," Fudge said. A smile of relief crossed my mother's face. course you didn't. It's a joke, Fudge, she said, and she put Fudge down on the floor and gave me a look. Fudge babbled on. No chew, just gulp, gulp, gulp. All gone, Turtle. Fudge is down Fudge's tummy. Me and my mother stared at Fudge. You didn't, Mom said. Dis so, Fudge said. No, Mom shouted back. Yes, Fudge shouted. Yes? Mom said weakly, holding onto a chair with both hands. Yes, Fudge beamed. My mother moaned and picked up my brother. Oh no, my precious baby, oh no. My mother didn't stop to think about my turtle. She didn't even give Dribble a second thought. She didn't even stop to wonder how my turtle liked being swallowed by my brother. She ran to the phone with Fudge tucked under her arm, and I followed. Mom dialed the operator and cried, "Oh, help, this is emergency, my baby ate a turtle." "Stop laughing," my mother told the operator. "Send an ambulance right away, 25 West 68th Street. Mom hung up. She didn't look too well. Tears were running down her face. She put Fudge down on the floor, and I couldn't understand why she was so upset. Fudge seemed fine. "Help me, Peter," Mom said. "Get some blankets." I ran to my brother's room, and I grabbed 2 blankets from Fudge's bed. He was following me around with a silly grin on his face, and I felt like giving him a pinch. How could he stand there looking so happy when he had my turtle inside of him? I delivered the blankets to my mother. She wrapped Fudge up in them and ran to the front door. I followed and grabbed her purse from the hall table, and I figured she'd be glad I thought of that. Out of the hall, I pressed the elevator buzzer. We had to wait for a few minutes, and Mom paced up and down in front of the elevator. Fudge was cradled in her arms, and he sucked his fingers and made that slurping noise I like, but all I could do was think of Dribble. Finally, the elevator got to our floor. There were 3 people in it beside Henry. "This is an emergency," Mother wailed. "The ambulance is waiting downstairs. Please hurry." "Yes, Mrs. Hatcher, of course. I'll run her down just as fast as I can. No other stops." Someone poked me in the back, and I turned around, and it was Mrs. Reuter. "What's the matter?" she whispered. "It's my brother," I whispered back. "He ate my turtle." Mrs. Reuter whispered that to the man next to her, who whispered that to the lady next to him, who whispered that to Henry, and I faced front and pretended I didn't hear anything. My mother turned around with Fudge in her arms and said, "That's not funny at all." Fudge said, "Funny, Fudgy." Everybody laughed, and everybody except my mother. The elevator door opened, and 2 men dressed in white were waiting with a stretcher. "This the baby?" One of them asked. Yes, it is," my mother sobbed. "Don't worry, lady. We'll take him to the hospital in no time." "Come on," my mother said, tugging at my sleeve. "We're going to ride in the ambulance with Fudge." My mother and I climbed into the back of the blue ambulance, and I was never in one before, and it was really neat. Fudge kneeled on the cot and peered out the window. He waved to the crowd of people that had gathered on the sidewalk. One of the attendants sat in back of us. The other one was driving. "What seems to be the trouble, lady?" the attendant asked. "The kid looks pretty healthy to me." "He swallowed a turtle," my mother whispered. "He did what?" the attendant asked. "He ate my turtle, that's what," I told him. My mother covered her face with her hanky and started to cry again. "Hey, Joe," the attendant called to the driver. "Make it snappy. This one swallowed a turtle." "That's not funny," my mother insisted. "I didn't think so either, considering it was my turtle." We arrived back at the door of the hospital. Fudge was whisked away by 2 nurses, and my mother ran after him. "You wait here, young man," another nurse called to me, pointing to the bench. I sat down on the hard wooden bench. I didn't have anything to do, and there weren't any books or magazines spread out like when I go to Dr. Cohn's office, so I watched the clock and read all the signs on the wall, and I found out I was in the emergency section of the hospital. After a while, the nurse came back. She gave me some paper and crayons. "Here you are. Be a good boy and draw some pictures. Your mother will be out soon." I wondered if she knew about Dribble, and that's why she was trying to be nice to me. I didn't feel like drawing any pictures, and I wondered what they were doing to Fudge in there. Maybe he wasn't such a bad little guy after all. I remember that Jimmy Fargo's little cousin once swallowed the most valuable rock from Jimmy's collection, and my mother told me that when I was a little kid I swallowed a quarter. Still, a quarter's not like a turtle. I watched the clock on the wall for an hour and 10 minutes. Then the door opened and my mother stepped out with Dr. Cohn. I was surprised to see him there. Didn't know he worked at the hospital. "Hello, Peter," he said. "Hello, Dr. Cone. Did you get my turtle?" "Not yet, Peter, but I do have something to show you. Here's an x-ray of your brother." I studied the x-rays as Dr. Cone pointed things out to me. "You see, there's your turtle right there." I looked hard. "Will Dribble be in there forever?" I asked. "Oh, no, definitely not. We'll get him out. We gave Fudge some medicine already. That should do the trick." "What kind of medicine?" I asked. "What trick?" "Castor oil, Peter," my mother said. "Fudge took some castor oil and milk of magnesia and prune juice too. Lots of that. All those things will help get Dribble out of Fudge's tummy." "We just have to wait," Dr. Cone said. "Probably until tomorrow or the day after. Fudge will have to spend the night here, though. But I don't think he's going to be swallowing anything like that isn't supposed to be swallowing any time soon." "How about Dribble? Will Dribble be all right?" My mother and Dr. Cone looked at each other. I knew the answer before he shook his head and said, "I think you may have to get a new turtle, Peter." "I don't want a new turtle," I said, tears coming in my eyes. I was embarrassed and wiped them away from the back of my hand. Then my nose started to run and I had to sniffle. "I want Dribble," I said. "It's the only turtle I want." I'll have to find out what happens more tomorrow. How sad. I feel bad for Peter.